do. All right, so coming back into this tool, it's called Ticor Online. And if you don't currently have Ticor Online, you really should get it. You really need to make sure you leverage this. We even, I think, have Danelle Arrow on the phone, who happens to be a Black Knight representative. She's probably happy I'm doing this training class because it's about her product. All right, so in addition to this deal here, there are so many different ways of pulling leads. The idea of today's class of getting a higher return on investment and being able to, what I like to say, hunt fish in a barrel, is you want to be able to target market to the audience that you would truly like to receive. You want to make sure that message is just like Google. You know, there's WWJD, but in this instance, it's going to be WWGD, meaning what would Google do? And if you go onto Google these days, maybe you pay attention, maybe you don't. Maybe you realize that after you've searched something on Google, that all of a sudden in your Facebook feed and all these different options and outlets and advertisements, they're now being truly targeted towards you, the consumer. So if we kind of move with the market, what should we do in moving with the market as it relates to that? How can we keep up with the things that the internet is doing? So that when we are searching out, going out and trying to find other opportunities to build our business, why would we not want to do the same thing with our message? Let's not just spend time and money throwing anything against the wall to see if it sticks or not. Let's go out there and target market those items. So by using this tool, you can refine different market segments so that when you're sending mailings or door knocking or whatever it may be, that your message is going to be exactly to the target market that you're trying to go to. So you might be asking the question, for example, who is maybe 65 or older, which is the scenario I was running earlier, and maybe they have a 2-story house and a large yacht lot. Does somebody in their 60s, late 60s, 70s, 80s wants to maintain a large yard? Probably not. Do they want to go up down 2 flights of stairs? Probably not. So we can identify these things in the system. I'm going to show you several different ways that you can actually go in, get the information, and then leverage that in your marketing efforts to gain more success in your marketing efforts. The tool here is actually quite simple. However, the first time in, I found it can be quite confusing. And that's why I think this recording or this message here today will be extremely useful for you. Now, when we look at this system here, we want to look at it almost like we're reading a book and start here from the left. And as we move on, we're going to work to the right, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to start off with this geographic farm list that's here. So first we have to start off with, well, where do we want to go? Also, as we get these items started here and identifying different farm opportunities, we want to make sure that we know that if we get lost or confused as to how to fill one in, we can mouse over the specific box. You'll have a cheat sheet here that will actually give you the information, and then we can go ahead and start pulling the data. All right, so we're going to start with cities. I'm going to use Rancho Cucamonga, obviously, because that's pretty close to home. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose the cities in Rancho, which it breaks, most online systems will break down Rancho Cucamonga into 4 different segments: Alta Loma, Cucamonga, and Etiwanda. So I'm going to choose all 4. When you hit the 3 dots next to the box over there, I'll show you over here. There's a little 3 dots right here next to any of the fields. You can choose multiple options, and it'll fill in that field. All right, next option, property characteristics. When we come in here, we're most likely in this case going to look at single-family residences. And when it comes to building size, we can even go, for example, 3,000 or greater than 3,000 square feet, or even, let's say, greater than, 2,800. We can also on here go lot size and say greater than 12,000 square feet. All right. The next field on these move up, move down buyers per se would be to hit the demographics button and say greater than 65. And then once I have my parameters in, I hit the button that says count only. On the right-hand side over here, you can see the information and the parameters that we've chosen, right? Now on this one here, it shows there's 544 records that match that criteria in Rancho Cucamonga. At the same time, I can come over here next and hit View Records. What it'll start doing is start showing me and mapping out one page at a time where these records are in relation to the city. It'll give you the street name, but not the address or the owner name, because this is a system where we found ways of turning this on. And this is a retail product that you can go out and get yourself, but as a resource, it's also available for you inside of Ticor online. As being a client of Ticor, you also get our discounted rates when you pull these things. So it's very important, and it's a cool benefit to be able to turn this on inside of this tool that we already have given you access to. If this is something you would like to pull, you would then continue to move to the right. You hit Select Records. You would name your farm here, and then hit Calculate Price. When you do it, it's going to give you an estimation as to how much that farm would cost. So these are currently 6 cents per lead, or $32 for the full farm. You can buy it one time, or you can go ahead and enter in or deposit data dollars into the account. In doing so, you just go back in instead of having to put your credit card number in each and every time. So it can be quite helpful and useful. Also, know that if you were trying to search a specific market segment, there's nothing you've paid for up to this point, and you start to identify and see different markets as to what, and if there is a large market like that in there. Other common questions might be, for example, equity position. Let's say I'm looking for people in that same category that now have at least 20% equity. So let's say greater than current market loan to value. So I want to say less than 80%. So they have 21% or greater equity. I leave all my current parameters in there and then hit the count only button. Now let's see what comes up out of those 507. So 372 of the 500, and I think 44 that were there before, have at least 20% equity. And you can continue to play with that number if you like. You can come back and you can put 70%. So now they have at least 30% equity. Count it again. See what comes back. All right, so of them, 340 still have that information. Phenomenal, phenomenal tool. All right, next up on this one. And many times what we're finding is as well is that people want to know about distressed data. And with distressed data, they're saying, hey, I want to pull foreclosure information. Who is in distress? Who has, for example, notice the default, NOD, Can you do that? In this tool, the answer is yes. You can absolutely pull those. I think the one that shocks me each and every time I run the numbers, and as I'm talking to you, I'm going to put the C's back in because I cleared my parameters, is the ones, for example, where they have equity and they have some form of distressed documentation recorded against the property. So let's try this again. We're going to go to Rancho Cucamonga. I hit OK. I'm going to come over here to Property Uses and Characteristics. I'm going to hit Single Family Residence. Also, while I have this down, I want to make sure you guys see that there's all kinds of different parameters that you can pull while using the system. So if you want to target PUDs or townhomes, or you're the condo king, by all means, target just the condos and those items specifically. All right, moving forward. All right, so we want to come down here to the loan to value. Let's say, for example, to start it out, that they have 10% equity or more. So I'm going to do current loan to value is less than 90, right? And then I'm going to come back up to foreclosure data. If I put in here all types of foreclosure data and recordings within the last 3 months, I'm going to come down here and hit the button that says Count Only. 54. Wow. You hear that? So this is 54 properties in Rancho Cucamonga that have at least 10% equity, and they're in some form of foreclosure. If I wanted to segment it out just the default or notice the sale or whichever, then I can do that as well. So if I want to say notice the default and try and recount it, let's do it out there. And the wheel is spinning. 44. Now, if you want to get really crazy as you're trying to really segment this down and narrow it, even though that's a pretty good list right there, let's come back over here to this one and say, what if I put 85 or 86? So they have at least 15% equity, and I hit the count button again. And the wheel is spinning. Again, over here is where your parameters are. 39. So 39 people have at least 15% equity, and they have a notice of default recorded against their property. Now, if you look up here again, this is only in the cities which represent Rancho Cucamonga. Can you think of this as an agent or as an opportunity to go out there and knock these 39 doors? Is that a manageable list? For someone who's got equity and could sell their property most likely to be able to be a successful lead for you. Now know that this is specifically in one city. There's obviously multiple cities. And there's plenty of opportunities. There's thousands of different ways of pulling data within the system. Another one that comes up from time to time here is in this tab. And in this tab is the demographic data. Obviously, we played with the age bracket before. If you're looking for specifically male or females, if you're looking for families for a move up or move down, is there presence of children, marital status? If you have a marketing piece for married peoples, by all means. If you're specifically targeting certain ethnic groups, you can do that well. And you can have the opportunities where it pulls it by surname. Maybe you speak a specific language, or maybe you speak Cantonese or Hindu. You want to go after that. You absolutely can. Also in here, you do have the price range or the income ranges, as well as occupation. This comes in really handy if you have like a neighbor next door program, maybe a military or a VA program. You can see that there's plenty of different fields or professions that if you wanted to, again, cater a message specific to the person receiving it, this is where we really start to match up and mirror what Google provides or search engines do when it comes to lead data. I'm a huge believer in it. And I feel like when we send pieces out via a phone call, be it a marketing piece or an item or a postcard, the more personalized or the more relevant it is to me, the more likely I am to keep it and or read it, because someone's actually taken the time to do the research. And it's so much more time consuming in most cases to do that. So I respect it all that much more when it comes like that to my house. So as you can see, again, just in recap, you start up with a geographic. You go one field at a time. If you ever get confused about how to fill in a field, you just mouse over it for a little extra longer. Again, demographic data. Oh, one question that came up earlier when people were asking about the webinar. There is the option in here as well, although I kind of steer away from it. It's tough from a title company standpoint. There is also the field in here for tax defaults. So some people were looking for some tax defaults, and that one for right here, you can see it. I struggle with just because our industry as a whole has a hard time insuring transactions a short time after any kind of tax sale. But it could be an opportunity where maybe it's tax defaulted but not tax foreclosed. So maybe it's an opportunity to go in, try and offer to bring those things current and maybe save the house or do some kind of option for investment in that property in that capacity. If there's any lenders on the call and you wanted to go after specific loan types, you can obviously come in and you can see the different information and what's the loan amounts, was it purchase money, was it not, what's the interest rate on that loan. So for the realtors on the call, you may not need that one, but the lenders would absolutely love that. If you're trying to go against specific products or refinancing out of them, if you're trying to figure out do they currently have a VA loan and you want to refinance that, or a reverse mortgage. Also those that do reverse mortgages in doing the age demographics as well as the loan types, it'd be a great way to pull that data, again, to target those specific markets. The opportunities on here are absolutely endless, and I just can't say it enough that we need to get with the times and move with the cheese, as Dr. Spencer Johnson would say in his book. We need to find the ways of making sure our message matches the content, matches the person. If you're short selling or in a distressed situation, you don't want something talking about, cash out your equity and move to a newer property. And if you're in an equity position, you really don't want to get a card about short sale. It just says that the person sending the card isn't doing their job in knowing those pieces of information. So by leveraging the data here and using certain vendors with it, and then potentially matching or mirroring that up with some specific marketing materials and wording, you will find that you will get much greater results when you do mailing campaigns or door knocking campaigns. It's a phenomenal tool to be able to do that. And when used in concert together, you can get your response rates as high as 8, 10, and 12%. Maybe you do, maybe you don't realize this. Every door direct may be the cheapest way of touching a larger area or sphere of influence. However, we've done the research, and the response rate on every door direct. Maybe say a number out loud or to yourself, or put it in the chat box as to what you may think it is. I'll open it up here and see what people say. What do you think it is? The response rate on every door direct. In case you didn't know, the regular response rate on every door direct is actually just under 0.5%. One exactly, Benny Boo Boo. Good job. It's just under. It's actually 0.0048. So it's just under 0.5%, but we'll round up with you. There are tools that we can pair this stuff up with. And it's not just the tool itself. It's the creativity, the specific wording, and the ways of being able to put this stuff together. And when you can put that stuff together, that's when you start getting the results. So even though you might spend a little bit here pulling some of the lead data, and it might cost you slightly more to send the cards out that we're referring to, you will get the better responses that you need to increase your business and get a better ROI when it comes to your marketing plans. Again, at the end of the day, there's nothing like the hand-to-hand handshake, or what we like to call bumping bellies. You got to get out there. You got to talk to people, and this is definitely a full contact sport. Being in front of people is awesome. Reinforcing your message is the point here, and providing value each and every time you meet with your people. So again, this tool is called Ticor Online. It's a phenomenal tool. Last week we talked a little bit about pulling tax rolls out of here and how to be able to answer those questions, as well as the supplemental tax rates. I appreciate you guys' patience today. It went a little bumpy as we got things started, but definitely appreciate all you guys that hung in. Thank you so much for your time today. If you do not have a Ticor online account, we would love to be able to get one together for you. So please give us an email or a text or a phone call, and we'll do our best to get that set up for you today. And we look forward to meeting up with you real soon. If you would like a one-on-one demo with this, or running specific scenarios for the first time through, or however many times you like, we want to be that support team for you. So by all means, reach out, give us a shout. We appreciate your support, and thank you for specifying Team Title Guy for all your title needs. Bye-bye.